the moves of the last few days. It's been quite a few tough conversations. Can you just kind of take us behind the curtain and what led to those decisions and now what this means for this organization moving forward?
Yeah, this has been a very emotional week for all of us. Barnesy and CT have been in the middle of some huge moments for this organization. Both guys have left an indelible mark on our culture and where we're at this point. So the decisions were incredibly difficult. The conversations were tough. But with where we are, division race, composition of roster, everything, we felt like this was in the Dodgers' best interest in terms of how to win as many games and put us in position to best win a World Series this year. Doesn't mean that it was easy, but ultimately felt like it was the right thing to do.
It also points to just how encouraged you guys have been with these young players like this on him. How has he just had such an immediate impact on this group?
Yeah, beyond just how endearing he is to his teammates, just the energy he brings, the foot speed, the versatility as well. Just something that adds a lot to our roster and a different look. Again, no decision is ever made in a vacuum. It's within the context of our roster and where we're at. And so, he's done a great job. Rush talked about the other day. When we drafted him, obviously we loved the bat. Didn't have a ton of experience behind the plate. Have challenged him each year with different goals and things to work on. And to his credit, he has an incredible motor and work ethic and has continued to get better and better and better and better. And so on one hand, there is the element of, the guys who've been here and been a big part of what we've done. And the other is looking ahead to who is going to be a part of, the next wave. And it's far from science, it's art, and it's difficult. And it's, I think the end for people that, have been such significant contributors, it's never going to feel good. And it's been tough for a lot of us this week. But felt like in Rush's development, where he's at, what he's done, that he had earned this right. And that he would help us be able to win games and continue his development. The last mile part of a catcher's development plan is leading and running a major league staff. And you can't really do that unless you're up here, catching some games. So felt like at this point that was in everyone's best interest.
You kind of alluded to this, but what is sort of behind maybe the urgency to do this now as opposed to maybe either doing it from the start of the season or doing it later on in a couple months to see how things kind of play out for guys?
Obviously you get more information. We didn't feel like coming into the season this is something that we would necessarily be doing in May, but you learn things and things change and things evolve and play out. We just have a lot more information at this point in May than we do before the season. So I wouldn't say it was something that we thought was fait accompli and was necessarily going to happen. But with where we were, all things factored in, again, while not easy, we felt like it was the right thing to do.
How much has, you mentioned the division race part, just kind of raise the urgency to improve on the margins in these kind of ways and make sure you have the best roster to try to win as many games as possible, even right now?
Yeah, I think that's ultimately, our job. And, we saw it in 2021, winning 106 games and not winning the division. Our primary goal during the regular season is to win the division. That is what we feel like puts us in the best position to accomplish our ultimate goal. And so for us, bringing a fresh arm to make sure we don't, put a lot of burden on other guys and affect our chances in subsequent days. Everything we do is about how to try to win as many games as we can, and try to do it with as much thoughtfulness and humanity as we can in communication. And we have a tough division. We've got some really good teams in our division who are playing well. And so for us, it's about doing everything we can each night to try to win a game.
When Teo comes back, how do you envision using Kim and finding him kind of still regular playing time even when the full lineup is healthy?
Yeah, I mean, I think with Tommy and Teo, obviously getting them back will be huge. But I don't think they're going to be ready to Iron Man it quite yet. And so we'll mix in guys and figure that out. And as guys get to be more healthy and playing more, we'll figure out where to go from there.
We asked it's like, I think throughout the offseason, like balance of like bringing guys in who've been around for this and versus new blood and everything like that. Like how more delicate is that now, especially with two longest tenured position players who are being gone from everywhere now?
How delicate is what? I'm sorry.
Like how delicate is like sort of managing that balance and sort of how much is that a factor for your thinking when you're kind of letting go to the longest tenured position players?
Yeah, I mean, again, they, from the beginning, what I said, I mean, they've been in the middle of some huge moments for this organization. I feel like our culture is in a significantly stronger spot than it was 5 years ago, and hope 5 years from now it'll be even stronger. And if that's the case, their fingerprints are still going to be on that. The lasting impact that those guys have had is real. And so again, that's what made it so difficult and so emotional. But balancing that with our roster and how to win the most games, and we've got a lot of guys who've been here a long time still, and we've got some new guys as well. And we talk about this every off season. It's a really delicate balance of figuring out the right way to handle the stability and continuity versus infusing some new guys. And again, that's definitely more art, and each year we try to find the right balance of it. But again, this wasn't something coming into the year that we said, okay, we think in May this is what's going to happen. It's just the way things played out.
When you got Chris in 2016, he was nowhere near the player that he was going to be in like a year. The power, playing the outfield, how much pride was there in kind of developing him, seeing a guy that had the tools and then getting those tools to go with it?
Yeah, I mean, he is the consummate pro. The way he did a trust fall when he got here, he came in hungry and wanting to get better, and dove in with our hitting guys, with our position coaches, got better in the infield, learned the outfield, got really good out there. Obviously the power, the production he brought in the batter's box as well. I mean, he was a huge part of so much success that we've enjoyed, and can't say enough about the human, the worker, the teammate, the player. He's one of the toughest guys I've ever been around, and will always have a place for CT. And whenever he's done playing 4, 5, 6 years from now, I hope he's always connected to the Dodgers.
How much do you think like the injuries he went through the last couple of years kind of contributed to the drop off in production?
Yeah, I think it definitely did, and that combined with just kind of naturally how the roster evolved, then made it hard for him to get regular playing time. And I think with CT, with a lot of guys, but with CT as well, it's hard to play once a week. It's a tough role. And probably not, again, in a vacuum isolated to him, probably not the best role for him to have success, but just with the way our roster's played out, that's how it's evolved. But I know he's looking forward to trying, getting an opportunity to play more often, and he's got a chip on his shoulder, and I certainly would not bet against him.
For Haslong and for Dalton,
I'm sorry.
for Haslong and for Dalton, kind of where do you see the value in them being up here, even though they're probably not, they're not getting those everyday opportunities that they might have had AAA?
Yeah, I mean, just mixing in, and we saw Comet come in last night to pinch run, and that's a really helpful feature on nights he's not playing. We saw Will be able to come off the bench and pinch hit, and sure there can be opportunities for Dalton as well on days he's not playing. Doc and our coaches do such a good job of incorporating all of our players, and so there's opportunity. Is there as much, it's going to be hard to get regular everyday playing time, but we feel like there will be a good amount. And if at some point, if there's not, we'll assess that and make a decision.
How much has Hason just kind of surpassed your guys' expectations during these last couple of weeks?
When we signed him, the field value and the run value were banked in our minds. The question for us was the bat, and he poured himself into working on it this offseason, before we signed him, and saw some of those improvements. Got with our guys. Like anything, it takes reps and game action and live at-bats, and we've seen it continue to get better and better. In our mind, there's still some work to do there, which is awesome because obviously he's having a lot of success. And so it's the type of player that we really value, someone who adds value on the bases, on defense, in the batter's box, and feel like he can be a real contributor for us as we look forward.
That's a great topic. Where's your starting pitching at right now with snow and glass now? Are you optimistic?
They're in the clubhouse. Training room, probably.
When will they be on the mound?
I don't know. Let's get to that. Did we have more on Barnes, Taylor? I didn't know it's the other question. Okay. It's been challenging, and we're not looking ahead of, hey, this is the exact date. It's more just biting off in small chunks. Snell starting up his throwing program. Glass is a little further along in his, and we'll get off a mound at some point, and then obviously, each of them will throw bullpens, move on to live BPs, and then get into game action, and then get back. So I know both of them want that to happen as quickly as possible. It's challenging with a starting pitcher who's not built up anymore of how to get back to that point and try to get him back to stay back. And so that's what we're in the middle of right now.
Did the pitching injuries so far feel similar to the last couple of years? Do you guys feel like you're in a better spot longer term this year, just with the depth and the fact that you're expecting these guys to come back? Like, how would you kind of frame what you guys have been through so far?
Not fun. Do I get more words then?
Sure.
All different, and it still doesn't feel like last year, but we're in May, so not gonna jinx that and get into any comparisons. For the most part, the things that we've gone through are shorter term. Last year they were significant and resulted in surgery, and so in some ways maybe we're over-indexing in some and just being a little bit more cautious and trying to make sure it doesn't get to that point. But said this a lot, and I think anyone who doesn't say it is not being honest. There's a lot we don't know about injury stuff, and I think it's important not to pretend like we have all the answers, and there's a lot to it that is really challenging, and we're hoping to continue to grow and learn from experiences and just try to make the smartest, best move we can, knowing we're going to make mistakes, and again, learning from it. And it's by far the number one thing that keeps me up at night.
Do you have a framework for when Ohtani will be back on the mound, and how many starts would you ideally like for him to be able to make before he's kind of...
I don't have an ideal. It's more, kind of building up. We knew, especially after the left shoulder surgery, we were just going to be a little bit more cautious and make sure that this got to a really good spot before we really started upping the intensity on the pitching side. And for us, with him coming off that injury, we didn't expect think it was fair to think about it wire to wire. Like beginning of the season all the way through, hopefully was a very deep October run. And so we slowed it down, and right now he's throwing a couple bullpens a week and coming out of them really well and doing well. And so we'll continue to kind of map out the next week or two and keep going. But everything is progressing in the right direction, and we'll start accelerating it at some point. Not sure exactly when.
This is the fact that he's started throwing more pitches in the last couple bullpens and doing up downs. Is that a sign he's getting closer to the
Yeah, it's a continual build up and progression.
What's going to be his next step? Like, he hasn't pitched a slider yet. I think it's a medical decision. Like, does he have to put the slider before the live BP, or what's the
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely going to be a part of his arsenal. And so, start layering that on and, doing the up down and just building up tolerance of pitches. And then like every starting pitcher, it'll then move to some live BPs and then figure out from there as we go.
We'll do 2 more, guys.
How much do you think kind of Roki's shoulder was part of like his struggles during the first month?
I think very likely.
Andrew, you went above and beyond this offseason to make sure the starting pitching was there. You had additions, you had guys that you knew were going to come back this season. You mentioned not being able to sleep at night. You start to wonder, what can I do to make this? It just doesn't stop. Like, how frustrating is that?
I mean, everything for my brain is about what we can do, like how we can solve this. And, it's like a game of whack-a-mole, and things keep popping up, and we're doing the best we can to hit them down and, keep our guys in a good spot to win as many games as we can. It's a good opportunity for some guys, and then hopefully get some reinforcements back. The definition of enough depth, I think, is a fool's errand. I don't know what enough depth means. I think more is always better with pitching depth.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Andrew.
Thank you, guys.